I want to thank you for being on the call. With no further ado, I would like to introduce to you all Dr. Athea Mari.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have a few nicknames, but one of the main nicknames that people give me is Dr. Killjoy. I'm just always killing everybody's joy, but with good reason. I'm also called the Water Doctor, because water is very crucial to why people are sick. So I always, when I do a call, cover some part about water, because nothing works properly, especially any of these products from this company, if there is not sufficient water going into the body. On the question of water and diseases and dehydration, if we look at, there's a formula called colon cleanse, and this is very important, this formula, simply from the purpose that they say in our industry that cancer begins in the colon. And let me explain. Most people currently, on a good day, go once a day, or go every day, at least once a day. And everyone thinks that that is actually a good deal. And that is actually constipation. We have others that only go twice a week. That I call a nightmare. And I found out that a lot of different people have this problem where their bowels will not move for days. And the problem you have is a multitude. One of the things is that if you don't drink water, but you drink juices and tea, and you're doing that, most people, throughout the day, and at this point I need to be a little crude, but what happens is that it gets dry as a bone inside that colon where you move your bowels, the fecal matter. And so people end up, when they do finally go, shooting out very hard stool. And most people describe it like bullets. So the stool, when it does this, is very difficult, and then it's very hard. And that is because there is no moisture in there of any kind. It is just bone dry. So it's difficult to move the bowels, very difficult. So there's no point taking the colon cleanse and not increasing your water intake, because it's not going to work too well. The other problem you have with this accumulation is that every meal that you eat, I say to people, if you eat 3 meals a day, plus the snacks, and plus the double snacks, and you go to the toilet once a day for bowel movements, once a day, where are the other 2 meals and the other 2 snacks? And I tell people they're backing up till Christmas time. And the problem you have is multiple when this backing up is going on every day. So today, if I ate 3 meals and I lost 1, tomorrow when I start my next 3 meals, the other 2 are still, and the snacks are still in there. And they're not going anywhere. And they're building up and building up and building up. So often people say to me, well, they thought that, I said, thought what? Well, they thought it just went somewhere. I'm like, where? To the moon? No, it's just backing up. And so what the body does is you have the colon wall, and it's literally just sticking and sticking and sticking. And just for example, say the colon should be only 12 inches in width. What is happening is as this buildup of fecal matter and food that never comes out is building up in there year by year by year, the colon is stretching 40 inches. Now, on a female, that's a real problem, because where your colon passes by is on all your gynecological organs, or your sex organs. And so they get squashed, because the colon is going where it shouldn't be. So always I find in women with infertility, where they can't get pregnant, one of the major players is constipation. And it's too long to go into exactly how that happens. Just sufficient to say one of the parameters is if my colon is full of mess and it's squashing my gynae organs, how quickly am I going to get pregnant? We're not. So that's one aspect. The other thing is that we're supposed to be 98 degrees or thereabouts. That's kind of hot internally. Now, if you put feces that mess out in the hot sun, 98 degrees, what will it produce? It will produce worms and mess. That I have a colleague in England, and she saw a worm, a foot ruler long, coming out of people when she does the colonics. But I say to people, what do you expect? You're going to see worms. You've got mess in there, and it's hot, and it's putrid. So it's very important that you get the bowels moving. They won't move on their own for most people. You have to do it. Every meal goes in, every meal should come out. It should not be once a day or every 3 days. This is a killer. Because often people with migraines as well, those poisons that are stored in there are running around in the bloodstream. And sufficient to say that I found out that it is dairy. Eating dairy and eating gluten from bread, like rye, oats, barley, wheat, all of those grains, when you eat them, they will lock your bowel down. In goes the cheese and the ice cream, locked down on the bowel. And this is the reason why. When you eat those foods, you are turning them into... the reason people say, I love peanut butter, I love popcorn, I love ice cream, I love pasta, I love bread, I love my cheese, I love my yogurt. Anything you say, I love, you're only supposed to love people, not food. So when you say I love about a food, it's because you are allergic to it. You only love your allergy when you're talking about food. People then say, well, I don't have any allergy, I don't have any reactions when I eat it. That's the mistake and the danger, because the damage is internal. It is not showing up externally. So the allergy is inside, and it's creating havoc. So what we find is if you keep eating the things you're allergic to, the bread, the cheese, the peanut butter, you will consistently lock your bowel down. So this is one of the reasons why there is this huge problem with the bowel movements. So again, you have to be wary of the foods you say, I love, because you only love it because you're allergic to it. Now, the other issue about water is around the lymphatic system. And people go, what is that? Your lymph? What's that? But your lymphatic system runs from your neck down around the breast area for the women by the arms, and it goes all the way down for the men down into and the women into your groin area. And the lymph system operates with water. Again, if you drink coffee all day and sodas, all the water's coming out of the lymphatic system. And the lymph is critical. You put deodorants under your arm, and if you look at the back, you have names that you cannot even begin to pronounce. Never mind, you can't spell them, and you can barely pronounce them. And I always say, I don't put anything on my skin that I can't pronounce. What they say to you is you put an antiperspirant under your arms to stop the fluid and the sweating. Now, this is a mistake. This is going against nature. The cooling system for the body is the water coming from under your arms, is your natural cooling system. That's how the body cools itself. So here we go. Stick that antiperspirant. Anti means I'm going against my nature. And I'm going to try and suppress this perspiration, this sweat from coming through my arm. And when you do that, you literally block up the lymphatic system. And not only do you just block it, you block it with a truckload of chemicals in there. Now understand about breast and prostate cancer, or any cancer. Cancer thrives on poisons. It just loves these chemicals. The glue that holds the cancer together is chemicals and poisons. And there are plenty of them in the deodorant, apart from the fact that you're also jamming up the lymphatic system with the deodorant, because you're blocking it, and then there's no movement of water in there. So all of these chemicals you keep putting under your arm where's it going to go? We're not drinking 3 quarts of water a day, so the poor lymphatic system is in serious trouble because A, there's no water to flush the lymph to get everything out that you're putting in every day. Secondly, you've got this antiperspirant. Real problem in the 21st century now that people have become afraid of their own body fluids. So again, the water becomes absolutely critical. And understand what I always say to people. The body does not recognize fluids like flavored water and juice and soda and tea. The body cannot do anything with the lymphatic system with those substances. They will only create havoc. They're just more chemicals going in your lymph. The body only recognizes when it's ready to do its work and moisten up the colon, get the lymphatic flowing nicely and detoxing. It only recognizes water with nothing added to it. If you dip a tea bag or squeeze a lemon in that water, you've changed the molecular structure, and it is no longer water. So the body says, okay, I'm bone dry here. Where's the water gone? I'm in a desert. Where is the water? So most people naturally believe as long as they're consuming liquids, they're in good shape. But you're not. Unless that liquid is water, the body is in serious dehydration. And so the body normally needs 3 quarts of water per day in order to do its normal functions. Get the bowels moving so it's moist, get the lymphatics flowing, and get the kidneys working well. That's what your body needs, is 3 quarts a day. And most people, of course, don't like water. When I think about taking the products from the company here, the Fulvia, Aerobia, or any of these formulas, you transport your blood is water. The blood is literally 80% water. How do you transport nutrients into the cells? It's through the blood. However many coffees you have, you multiply it. However many sodas you have, you multiply it times 4. This amount of water is coming out of the body, out of the blood. It's getting thick and it's getting sticky, which means there's low oxygen, and cancer just loves when there's no oxygen in the body. It hates oxygen. But you're reducing your oxygen capacity by reducing your water capacity in your blood. It is key that the body gets enough water and that you've got good blood flow so that you can transport the nutrients into the cells. So again, if you're hydrated with enough water when you're taking Fulvia, Aerobia, and the colon cleanse, you're going to get double the benefits, and you're actually going to repair whatever it is you're trying to help much faster if you've got enough water in you. Now, with the Fulvia, as I said, I think last week, is often combined with the Aerobia, and it is one of those tablets where, as I say, it's an adaptogen. It adapts to the human body's needs. So if it goes in John's body, and John has a prostate problem or erectile function problem, it will go in and say, it allows the body to then start saying, okay, well, we need to fix this first. So in him, he will get a result. I've got function now, and I'm not getting up for the toilet at night, and I'm happy. Right. It goes into Jane, and because it's an adaptogen, it adapts to your needs. So she's drinking more water, and the lymph blockage, like the breasts were tender, they were kind of lumpy, those things change in Jane's body, because that's what Jane's body needs the product to do. You can do that all day long, no matter who you give it to. If somebody just fractured a bone, like I had somebody fall off a ladder, a tall ladder, and damage rib cage, overnighted the tablet, the Fulvia, and literally, that day, there was no more pain. And it starts accelerating healing of the bone, like immediately. So in him, he wouldn't be paying attention to his prostate. His priority was to heal the bone, and that's what it would be doing. When people have multiple issues, then what you want is multiple numbers of pills. So say Jason has got the prostate thing going, He's got the blood pressure thing going, he's then got some arthritis going, and he's getting some migraines on top. If he only takes one tablet, how many of those things do you think are going to get done in a day? Not enough, because there's just not enough spread around. So the body will just prioritize what's the most life-threatening and only try and work on the one thing at a time. But if you went to 2 capsules twice a day, 4 a day, how many of you think of those 4 issues get done? Probably all at the same time, because you're taking enough. So I always say to people, they'll say they bought a product in the health food store and it didn't work. They took some B vitamins, and you say vitamins, I say vitamins. They took some B vitamins and they tell me, oh, it didn't work. And I said, really? And how much did you take? They said, well, the bottle said 1 a day. I said, really? Well, I'll tell you why it didn't work, because the dose on the bottle of 1 or 2, 1 a day, is called the maintenance dose. So if you want to maintain your bad health, you stay on the 1 a day. But if you want to change your health, you go to a therapeutic dose, which means you take more to change the situation. And then when you've changed the situation, you go down to the maintenance dose, because, my goodness, you now have something good to maintain. So it always entertains me when I see this 1 tablet on the bottle. I'm like, when do you think I'm going to get well? Next century? Be aware. And it's the same with these products. You know, companies are asked to just put these dosages on these bottles because they're not supposed to be treating anybody. So it's only if I can give people education that you then understand you do not pay attention to that dose, because you're going to maintain the same problem that you have for a very long time if you continue on that dose. So again, to be aware for people that if they have a lot of issues, always good to start with 1 a day, and then after 5, 6 days, they go up to a 2nd tablet if they're going to take more pills, because all of these things have an ability to detoxify you. And if you detox and you give people new people products that they're not familiar with, and they have a bad reaction, their reaction is, this thing is harming me, I'm not taking it anymore. So to avoid that type of situation, you always recommend people that they start with 1 a day, and that they must increase their water intake, or start drinking water, as the case might be. And for those that I have met where they refuse to drink more water, then I refuse to increase their dosage, because if I tell them now with their multiple issues, well, you just need to go right on and take 2 capsules twice a day, and they're not increasing their water intake, and the the tablet starts to try and detoxify, they're going to not feel very well. There's no harm, they just don't feel well. You know, I've got some nausea, I feel like I want to vomit. That's the liver complaining that you're detoxing me too fast. Your liver is what makes you nauseous. It is not your stomach. The only time your stomach makes you nauseous is if you have food poisoning. If you've got no food poisoning and you're nauseous, it is your liver complaining, and you either need to move your bowels or you need to drink more water. So again, you know, you cannot have people taking more than 1 a day. If their bowels aren't moving properly, that will slow them down, and if they're not drinking enough water, it will slow them down. And so it's best that they just stay on 1 a day so they can function, go to work, and feel okay. So be aware again, you encourage people to drink the water. And often I'll tell people very clearly that when you take these tablets, you should drink 2 full glasses of water each time you take them, because it's going to transport it into your cells much more efficiently. So it's something I encourage you to tell other people, that the best way for them to take it is to take 2 full glasses of water each time they take it. And at least they'll get 2 or 4 glasses in their body for the day. Blood pressure. Blood pressure on the hydration side is very linked to lack of water. I always say to people that tell me they have high pressure, but you don't know. How do you know that? About 80% water. So what will happen if the blood is drying up, which is the water's drying up in the blood, and the blood is getting very thick and sticky. When people hear blood pressure, I don't think they realize you're talking about the pressure in the heart. And so what happens, if you think about a grape, it shrivels up and dries up, it becomes a raisin. So it contracts and it gets smaller, but it shrivels down into the raisin. If these arteries, never mind the fact that the blood is thick and sticky, the other part of the problem with the blood pressure is that those arteries that carry the blood, they're drying up. They need water to moisten them and keep them nice and flexible. Instead, there's just coffee, sodas coming in the door, and the body's drying up. So if you dry up, you contract. So basically, those blood vessels that carry your blood and the arteries, they start to shrink because they're not hydrated, just like the grape shrinks to a raisin. Now, if there's a constriction, which is the medical term, is shrinking of those arteries, your blood pressure will go up because it's squeezing it and it's having a narrow passage to get through. And that's puts pressure on the heart. But if I'm saying that your blood is water and the water's drying up, the blood is drying up. So now, say you only down to 80% of the normal blood flow in the whole body. This puts extra stress on the heart to pump. It's like I got to pump double time now because I'm on reduced flow. I have less blood in here to work with. So now the heart has to work harder and pump harder in order to function and get you walking down the road. So that's the other part about the blood pressure and dehydration. You have got to have water. As I say, if you educate, you will not medicate. But if you don't know who the enemy is, you cannot fight. Everybody hears everybody say, oh, you need to drink this amount of water, and you go, yeah. But when you understand how the water works in your body, then you have a value to drink the water. And the other one, of course, I always mention is the kidney dialysis wards are overflowing with people. And certainly I know within the black community, it is extremely bad with dialysis. And again, we go from the grape to the raisin. It shrivels up, dries up. My cousin, who's had dialysis, and I asked her, what size was your kidney before the dialysis? They told her it was as tiny as a pea. How can your kidney be the size of a pea? I tell people the medical term for when an organ shrinks is atrophy. And I said, forget the medical term because nobody knows what they're doing to themselves. When I say it shriveled up and dried up from no water, then they know what they're doing. And I say the disease did not fall from the sky. It fell from your lips. What makes your kidneys work and you pass urine is water. So you keep putting the sodas in and keep putting the caffeine in, and that kidney is going to start shrinking and drying up and shriveling up. And the interesting thing about the doctors, when you go to the hospital, although the kidney is on the way out the door, their blood test tells you your kidney is absolutely perfect. Yet, if your ankles are swelling, that means your kidneys are not working properly. But the doctor looks at you, and he doesn't look at the ankles that tells you the kidney's not working. He's looking at his little blood test that tells him that your kidney function is actually absolutely fine. So the unfortunate thing about the doctors that you must understand, when you go to the hospital and they do then tell you, oh, kidney's perfect, this is nonsense. Your ankles are swelling, your kidneys are not perfect. What it is, they can only see when the organ has failed. But while it's failing with the swollen ankles and a female's got frequent urination and she's having to get up all night, when all of that is happening, they can't see anything. And they're not asking you any questions. They're just looking at their blood test that's not showing them jack all. Okay? So you have to understand they will be able to tell you when your kidney shut down, but they couldn't tell you while it was shutting down. And so you have to start looking for the signs by yourself. So women should not be having to get up through the night for the toilet. The men, of course, we know if you're getting up at night, your prostate is enlarged. If you have midstream is not strong, prostate is enlarged. And if you have incomplete emptying when you urinate, your prostate is enlarged. And so you must, again, you have to drink enough water in the first place. So here's the poor liver. The liver also breaks down fat in your body. So again, if the liver is compromised because all the sodas have a sweetener in it called fructose. Fructose, it either says high fructose, anything saying ose, sucralose, any ose, O-S-E, run. Fructose has been hidden in most of your food chain. It's in all your juices and your sodas. And I found there was a study in England, there was an article in the paper, and they said that, I think it was 3 sodas caused liver damage. And I thought to myself, I know why, because of the fructose. Your liver cannot break down that sweetener. So what it does, if it cannot break it down, it will accumulate it, which means it lands in the liver and it stays there. And it jams up your liver function. And every day people drink more soda, more juice, more fructose, more fructose, more fructose, less liver function, less liver function. So I wanted to know who had found this research. So I searched online and found it was a university in Israel that found the link to the soda and the liver failure, liver dysfunction. So you must understand about your liver. The belly fat is on these little girls from very early because the liver is compromised by the sweetener. It cannot do its work, so it cannot break down the fat. So if the liver can't break down fat, what do we end up with? Cholesterol. Cholesterol is a form of fat. So the problem is not your heart, it's your liver when you have cholesterol. It's the liver and dehydration that causes high cholesterol. Some people have a genetic aspect to it, but this will compromise everybody. So I'm looking at the belly fat already. I'm going, there we go. She's got the belly fat going. The liver's not working. So when the liver cannot break the fat down, you will accumulate fat, and you will accumulate belly fat in the middle. With the estrogen now, so the liver, here's its nighttime now. Your body says at night is my detox time, is nighttime. So the liver's main time for detoxing is in the night. So here's the liver now. It's 10, 11 at night, and it's like, okay, it's detox time. So when your colds and coughs get worse, always at night, because the liver says, well, it's my detox time. It's just too bad that you've got a cold as well. So you always feel rough at night because the liver has to detox at night. So, for your body, the only organ that makes you create heat, makes you hot, unless you have a fever from an infection, if your body's hot, it is your liver trying to tell you it cannot detox and I need help. So what it does now in the night, normally women start with just having the sweats at night. As the liver gets worse and worse, and it's not improving because there's no water coming in the door, there's more fructose and sugar and fried food coming in the door. So the liver's going, this is not working. We have got to use the backup system. So then they start busting a sweat during the day and the night because the body is just struggling to get these toxins out of the system. So again, the water becomes critical for these functions to flush toxins through and help the liver to clear any kind of chemicals out that you're pouring chemicals in, but you're doing nothing to get them out. The bowels are locked down, nothing's coming out. The lymph is jammed up, no water to make it flush, and the kidneys aren't doing too well either. So you begin to see how people start to get sick just from the lack of water and what they put in their mouth every day. Again, the hospital will tell you, oh, your thyroid looks fine. Yeah, really, I just put on 60 pounds in 3 months. I don't really think it could be fine. And people must understand you cannot have weight gain and have a working thyroid. It is a physical impossibility. And I know there's people telling me that they've been to the doctor, and they're telling them, no, your thyroid is absolutely fine. The thyroid test is highly inaccurate, does not work. 9 times out of 10, they don't know what they're talking about. Most people do not have working thyroids in this country. And one of your main reasons is fluoride, the rat poison in your water. We actually don't have fluoride. In many countries in Europe, they do not have fluoride in the water. Fluoride, if you go look it up, I tell people, use your intelligence. Everyone has a computer and technology. And you go in Google, and you always put in the hidden dangers of. And that of could be anything after the of. So you go put in the hidden dangers of fluoride and see what pops up on your screen. So fluoride shuts down thyroid in your drinking water and your toothpaste. I have to go and spend my big money in the health food store and buy a toothpaste that says fluoride free, because I personally do not want the rat poison. The thyroid also controls the women's sex drive. So when that thyroid's down, cold hands, cold feet, we've got problems in bed. And this is where the Infinity is useful for the men and the women, because this is a huge problem for the women. It's not discussed, but it is a serious problem because their sex drive has gone out the window. But it went with the thyroid, always. And the other thing that causes your thyroid to shut down is eating bread. The flour they make the bread with in this country has something called bromide in it. Remember, fluoride ends with IDE? Bromide ends with IDE. Bromide is in the flour, so I'll pick up a flour that says unbrominated, meaning that it's got no bromide in it, so it can't shut my thyroid down. But Mountain Dew has bromide in it. And another drink, Gatorade. Oh yeah, that disgusting drink. Gatorade and Mountain Dew is not listed on the ingredients, have bromide. This shuts, and bromide in the flour, just like the fluoride, bromide shuts down thyroid function. And so you imagine the poor kids that are doing sports and they're told to drink that Gatorade, or they're drinking Mountain Dew. If you think they're ADD now, they're going to be even more ADD, because thyroid controls your short-term memory and your concentration. So the kiddies are in trouble. But as parents, whoever may be on this phone, you have control of what your children put in their mouth. If they're young enough, you need to introduce them to water and stop bringing those things in your house. So the aerobia and fulvia is good for many, many things. Most things wrong with people. It will have some action because it's an adaptogen and it's adapting to your body's needs. And that's the main thing to understand about why the product is so powerful. When you have people in pain and you put it with the oxygen, remember I said through the blood is how you create oxygen, but it's also how you transport nutrients into the cells. So once you have the aerobia increasing the oxygen plus the fulvia or any other formula you're taking, you take the aerobia with it, it's going to get into the cells and have much more benefit than if you took the one product on its own. And so with the company, they've kind of put together the key things that people need. And piece by piece, I'll explain the value of each one. But those bowels need to get rocking and rolling, because that 40 inches of mess in there is creating disease. And cancer thrives on poisons. And you have a little chamber in there just pumping and spewing out poisons and mess all day long in your colon because your bowels are not moving. So I tell people to take enough to be able to go 3 times or more. In fact, I ask people to go to the toilet in the beginning 4 to 5 times a day. What do you mean we need 5? And I said, well, let me explain it this way. You have not been moving your bowels properly for how many years? So if you only get 3 bowel movements, that's just going to move today's food. What about the old stuff, the 40 inches that's still in there? I need 2 more to get to the old stuff and 3 to get to today's stuff. So ideally, you get to 5 times a day, and you'll really fix up in a heartbeat. And you'll find some people with back pain, once the bowels start moving, the back pain eases up. And so, again, water's got to go with this colon cleanse, or else you're going to limit what results you get if you don't start drinking that 3 quarts of water a day. Tap water will give you a heart attack in 2 minutes. It has 600 or more contaminants. Contaminants is chemicals and poisons in it, including the fluoride rat poison. So don't ever do 3 quarts of water and do it with tap water, because you will not do well. And on that note, I think Dr. Killjoy is finished.